The drums began before dawn, hollow, distant, like thunder beneath the soil. Each beat rolled across the kingdom of Umuija, waking hunters, stirring birds, and whispering through doorways. The river remembers. At the water's edge, mist clung to the air like breath upon glass. Prince Chima knelt beside the current, his hands trembling as he dropped 3 cowries into the flow, one for life, one for love, one for peace. But the water rejected them. The shells spun against the current, circling back toward him like accusations. From the forest behind, an old woman's voice cracked the silence. When the river spits out your offering, it means it has already claimed what is yours. Chima turned, but the voice was gone. Only the echo of her warning hung between the trees. He looked again into the water and saw her, the mermaid pale beneath the rippling surface, her eyes wide with fear. Around her, the water shimmered, not with light, but with blood. The prince's heart stopped. His breath burned. The drums grew louder. Somewhere, unseen, the ancestors whispered, "A spirit's tears have fallen on the stones. The balance is broken." And the river began to rise. Noon descended like a curse. The air over Umuija shimmered with heat. The earth cracked and gasped beneath bare feet. Beyond the village's last huts, by the slow bend of the river, 3 maidens waited, Ada, Goy, and Ifa, their shadows long, their hearts longer in envy. They came dressed not as daughters of the land, but as hunters of shame. Wrists bound in red cloth, faces streaked with ash. Tradition forbade mortal women from touching the river without offering, yet jealousy has no law. Today, Ada hissed, her voice sharp as reeds, we reclaim what belongs to us. The water murmured warnings, but they were deaf to it. The mermaid surfaced as she always did, gentle, radiant, unguarded. Her hair, black as obsidian, floated around her like an aura. She smiled when she saw them, thinking they came in peace. "Good day, sisters," she greeted softly. As the prince sent word, Koi's laugh broke like glass. "Do not call us sisters, witch of the water. We are flesh and dust, not scaled light." The others stepped closer. Ifa's eyes, once tender, now burned with despair. "You've stolen his heart, river thing. You who have no soul." The mermaid's smile faltered. She lowered her eyes, her voice trembling. "I took nothing that was not freely given." Ada spat on the ground. "Lies!" She lunged, fingers clutching the mermaid's braid. The strand shimmered with unnatural light. As Ada yanked, the light cracked a pulse, shivered through the air. Birds fled the trees. Still, they pressed on. Stones flew, sticks swung. The mermaid fell against the rocks, her tail thrashing helplessly. The sun glared down, a witness without mercy. Each strike was an act against the sacred, a violation not just of body, but of law. When the first drop of her blood touched the stones, the river groaned. The maidens froze, their arms suspended in the act of hate. The ground beneath their feet trembled just once, like a breath held in fury. The mermaid's voice broke the silence, hoarse and sorrowful. "You have spilled the tears of the spirit born. The water will remember your names." Eva stumbled back, horror dawning in her eyes. Ada, what have we done? But Ada, fevered with pride, raised her chin. Let the river remember then. Let it know we are not afraid. The mermaid gazed at her not with anger, but pity. Her fingers touched the wound at her temple, and when her blood met the river's surface, the current flashed silver, then black. The wind howled. The water turned against itself. The stones began to hum. Terrified, the maidens fled, their cries scattering into the forest. Only Aoife looked back long enough to see the mermaid sink slowly beneath the surface, her gaze fixed upon the sun, as if memorizing its warmth one last time. Moments later, Prince Chima burst through the reeds. His eyes found the crimson ripples, the broken reeds, the scattered footprints. By the gods, he whispered, kneeling where her blood had dried. The river's reflection shifted for an instant. He saw her face, pale and fading, whispering through the current. They have struck me, my prince, but it is not pain that frightens me. It is what the river will do in return. The sky darkened. The drums began again, slow, deliberate, echoing from no human hand. Chima stood, his jaw tight with fury. He faced the direction of the village, voice trembling like the storm behind him. They have touched the sacred. They have summoned the law of blood. That night, the fish vanished from every net. Cattle refused to drink. And at midnight, the river glowed red as though the heart of the water itself had awakened. By dawn, the elders would call it a curse, but in truth, it was only justice stirring beneath the waves. Night fell like judgment. The moon hung over Umuija round, unblinking, pale as the eye of an ancestor. The palace torches burned low, their flames bending east toward the river as if drawn by its hunger. Inside the great hall, silence pressed against the walls. The maidens knelt before the throne, their faces glistening with sweat and deceit. Behind them, the elders stood with crossed arms, their shadows long, their patience thin. Ada spoke first, her voice trembling with false reverence. O great king, O mother queen, your son walks hand in hand with a witch. She waits for him by the river, a creature not born of this land. She has bewitched him with her song. Goi raised her hands, feigning despair. She will bring ruin upon us. She has already defiled the sacred waters. If nothing is done, our crops will wither, our animals will starve. Eva bowed her head and whispered the softest lie of all. She has turned him against his people. The words spread like smoke, sweet, suffocating, poisonous. The king sat still, his gold crown heavy with silence. His eyes, dark and sharp, searched the maidens as one might examine snakes caught in a jar. The queen's fingers trembled upon her staff, though her voice when she spoke was steady. Summon the prince. The herald's drum rolled once. The doors opened. Prince Chima entered, his step deliberate, his jaw set. His garments still smelled faintly of river water. He knelt, but not low enough to hide his defiance. My father, my mother, the king's voice thundered. Though it carried sorrow, the maidens accuse you of consorting with a spirit. They say you bring shame upon the land. Tell us the truth. The hall waited, every torch leaning toward him, every breath held like a blade. Chima lifted his head. His voice was calm, but carried the iron of conviction. It is true, she is of the water. She saved my life when death had claimed me. She gave me breath, warmth, and heart. Without her, I would not stand before you. Murmurs rippled through the hall. The elders exchanged wary glances. A guard crossed himself. Ada's voice cracked. Desperate. Bewitched. He is bewitched. Chima's gaze snapped toward her. You struck her. You spilled her blood. And now the river burns with your guilt. The king slammed his staff against the floor. The sound was thunder. Enough! The echoes rolled through the chamber. When silence returned, the high priest stepped forward, a gaunt man with eyes clouded by age, yet sharp with the sight of the unseen. Your Majesty, he intoned, when the river is wronged, it does not sleep. The maidens have broken the law of spirit. The prince has crossed the boundary of flesh. To know truth, we must consult the ancestors. The king nodded once. Then let it be so. Let the river judge them all. That night, the village gathered beneath the silver stare of the moon. At the edge of the river, a great circle was drawn in ash, millet, and the blood of a white hen, symbols of truth and remembrance. The priest lifted his staff. Step forth, prince of the land. Step forth, daughter of the water. From the depth the mermaid emerged. The water curled around her as if unwilling to let go. Her skin glistened with moonlight, her eyes weary but unbroken. The villagers recoiled, some gasping prayers, others hiding their faces. Chima stepped forward, his heart steady. She is my savior. My life is hers. The priest raised his hand. Then swear it before the ancestors. For if your heart lies, the river shall claim it. He drew a blade and cut Chima's palm. Blood dripped into the river, turning it briefly scarlet. The water hissed, then quieted, as though tasting the truth. Then the mermaid reached for him. From her wrist, a drop of light fell into the current, a pearl formed of her tears. The water turned silver, circling them both. The priest's voice trembled. The ancestors have heard. Their silence is their verdict. But silence, in the world of spirits, is never peace. The wind shifted. The drums began again, slow, deep, as if the earth itself were breathing. The river glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with the drums. An unseen voice whispered across the crowd, neither male nor female, old as the hills. Balance must be restored. The priest bowed low. The ancestors accept the love, but demand atonement. The crowd murmured, fear rising. The king stood, his face grave. What must be done? They must prove that their bond brings unity, not ruin. One must give up something of their world. If either refuses, both will perish. The queen's breath caught. A trial of sacrifice. The priest nodded. Before the next full moon, they must offer part of their essence to the other. Only then will the river rest. The maidens' faces twisted, fear and triumph mingled. Ada whispered through clenched teeth. She cannot survive without her heartstone. If she gives it, she dies. And if she refuses, he dies. Either way, she is lost. The priest struck his staff into the earth. Sparks leapt. The flames of the torches bent toward the river. The judgment was sealed. Let them prepare for the test, the priest declared. The moon will be their witness. The river will be their judge. The people dispersed in silence, the air thick with awe and terror. Prince Chima turned to his beloved, his hand trembling as it found hers. Whatever they demand, I will give it. The mermaid's eyes shimmered with sorrow. Be careful what you offer, my prince, for when the river takes, it never returns. The drums faded into the dark, replaced by the hush of wind and the endless murmur of the current. High above, the moon watched cold, ancient, and patient, for it knew the truth. The trial had already begun. The moon rose heavier that night, red and swollen, as if the sky itself were bleeding. Its reflection trembled upon the river's skin, a perfect circle split in two by the current. By the water's edge stood Prince Chima and the mermaid, bound by the decree of the ancestors, watched by those who feared what love had summoned. No songs were sung. No crickets dared speak. Even the air seemed to kneel. The high priest stood between them, his body painted with white clay, a necklace of cowrie shells clattering faintly in the wind. His staff glowed faintly with fire from within. The river demands balance, he said. Love has crossed the border of spirit and flesh. One must give what the other cannot live without. Only then shall both worlds rest. He pointed his staff toward the prince. You, child of the land, give your blood the breath of your ancestors. Then, toward the mermaid. You, child of the water, give your hearthstone the pulse of the depths. A shiver passed through the gathered crowd. Someone whispered, "No spirit survives without her stone." Another muttered, "No man survives without his blood." But neither flinched. The mermaid's eyes met the prince's deep, ancient, steady. If we must bleed for peace, let it be together. She placed her hand upon her chest. Her skin shimmered, then parted softly like water. From within, a pearl emerged bright as dawn, humming like a living thing. The light pulsed with her heartbeat. The prince drew his blade and pressed it to his palm. Blood welled up, dark and hot. He cupped his hand, letting it spill onto the ground between them. The priest began to chant, a low, rhythmic tone older than the kingdom itself. The wind shifted. The water rose. The mermaid placed her hearthstone upon his open wound. The blood wrapped around it, forming a crimson halo. The air trembled. The river moaned like something waking. "Do you accept her essence?" the priest demanded. "I do," Chima whispered. The light sank into his skin, vanishing beneath it. For a heartbeat, his veins glowed green. His breath hitched, and he fell to one knee, clutching his chest. The mermaid reached for him, but the priest held her back. "Now you," he said, turning to her. "Receive his life." He pressed his blood-stained palm against her forehead. The red spread across her temples, her throat, her heart. She gasped, eyes wide. The water behind her began to churn, as if in protest. "The river rejects this union," someone cried. "No," said the priest, trembling. "It is deciding." The ground quaked. The torches flickered out. Only the moon remained, blazing white over red water. Then came the voice, low, layered and resonant, as if spoken by every ancestor who had ever died beside the river. "We see your bond. We see your offering. But balance cannot be bought. It must be lived." The mermaid looked up, her voice breaking. "What must we do?" The voice rolled like thunder. "When the next dawn rises, if love endures without fear, the curse will be lifted. But if jealousy or pride stirs again, the river will reclaim its own. You, child of the land, will belong to the depths forever." The wind stopped. The river calmed. The moon dimmed. The priest collapsed to his knees, spent. The people fled in silence, afraid to speak. Prince Chima remained where he was, his breath shallow, his skin faintly luminous. The mermaid knelt beside him, her fingers trembling as they brushed his cheek. "You gave too much," she whispered. "Then let it be enough," he said, forcing a smile. "If peace comes from our pain, then the pain is worth it." She wept silently, tears shimmering like liquid silver. Each drop that touched the ground hissed, seeping into the soil as if claimed by the world itself. When she spoke again, her voice was soft but fierce. "Do not come to the river tomorrow. Stay on the land. Let the water forget you." "I cannot," he said. "It is where my heart lives." She turned toward the river, where the moon's reflection now fractured into shards. "Then pray, my prince. Pray the dawn is merciful." That night, the village did not sleep. Children cried without reason. The cattle lay restless. Every well reflected the face of the moon, but no one dared to look directly at it. And far below, deep in the belly of the river, unseen by mortal eyes, something vast stirred. The mother of depths, Nuan Yi Miri herself, watched the surface with eyes of lightless gold. Her whisper slithered through the currents. "They have touched what was forbidden. Let us see if their love is strong enough to survive the dawn." By the time the first light of morning touched the trees, Chima sat alone at the river's edge. The air smelled of rain, though no cloud hung above. His reflection trembled in the water, split between two worlds. Behind him, unseen, the maidens gathered, once more faces pale, hearts poisoned by dread and envy. Ada's voice was low and cold. "He lives. Even after the blood oath, she has stolen the mercy of the spirits themselves. Today, we end it." And as the sun began to rise, the first stone fell into the water, small, sharp, a signal of war. The test of love had ended. The judgment was about to begin. The sun rose blood red. Its reflection shuddered upon the river like a wound that refused to heal. The air was heavy, the silence too deep. Birds avoided the sky, and even the leaves on the iroko tree refused to stir. By the water's edge, Prince Chima waited, alone. The mark of the blood oath still burned upon his chest, a faint glow beneath the skin, pulsing in rhythm with the water. Every beat whispered her name. The mermaid appeared from the mist, her eyes shadowed with dread. She had not slept. The river had murmured warnings all night. "You should not have come," she said, voice low, urgent. The dawn tests us now. If we meet before peace is restored. But her words broke off. She felt it. The earth itself shuddered beneath their feet. From the tree line came the sound of footsteps, many, fast, reckless. Then voices, shrill with fury. There she is. End this curse. Strike her before the gods claim him. The maidens emerged, their garments torn, their eyes blazing with madness. Ada led them, carrying a sharpened staff wrapped in red cloth, a weapon forbidden by sacred law. The others held stones and sticks, trembling not with fear but with unholy resolve. The mermaid drew back, her tail brushing the water. "Do not do this," she warned softly. "The river watches." Ada spat. "Let it watch. Today we restore the pride of the land." Chima stepped between them, his voice thunderous. "You will not touch her again." But they came anyway, madness drowning reason. They lunged forward, their screams tearing through the morning. The first blow never landed. The river exploded upward, a wall of roaring light. Waves rose higher than trees, shimmering gold and blue, swirling with spirits' faces, eyes like stars, mouths whispering in tongues long dead. The maidens froze mid-step, terror seizing their limbs. Chima turned, shielding the mermaid, but the water had already chosen. The light struck him, wrapping around his body like chains of silk. He gasped as the mark on his chest flared, his veins glowing bright green. "Chima!" the mermaid cried, reaching for him. He staggered backward, pain carving across his face. His legs trembled, shimmered, then melted into streams of light. Scales rippled down his skin. His feet fused, reshaping into a powerful tail that gleamed like the sun striking emerald glass. Gasps broke from the crowd. "The prince! He is no longer human." The river's roar deepened, as if laughing in triumph. The mermaid caught him before he fell. She held his face in her trembling hands, tears mixing with river spray. "I told you, the dawn is not merciful. If this is punishment," he whispered, "then let me bear it. You gave me life, I give you mine." Then came the voice again, the voice that belonged to no single throat, but to the river itself, ancient and resonant. He was already ours. The day his breath ceased, we took him. You merely shared your essence, and now he belongs to both worlds. He is not cursed, he is chosen. The maidens fell to their knees, wailing. Ada's voice cracked, shrill and hollow. "No, he was to be our king.